You're very welcome to Sold as Seen episode 9. I'm Andy Cooper from RMS Motoring and I'm joined by Gary Riley.
Good evening.
And for the moment, Mr. Craig Allen.
Hello. And goodbye.
Look, we'll get to that in a minute. This is a car podcast. Let's talk about cars. And I've been punting about for the last few days in the Hyundai Ioniq 5.
The super duper duper one then?
Aye, 48 grand. And based on the Ultimate, dual motor, 310 horse, 60 and 5.2. But just a fantastic car, just so well thought.
I'm just fascinated by this ability that you can plug things into the car.
Because
to me, it's like a go-fart extension. I'd imagine you have a lawnmower and you can't reach over to the plug in the house. So you just drive the car up to the garden, plug it in.
Totally. So
hedge trimmer, you name it.
That's well. Funnily enough, you mentioned head trimmer. So Rory Reid of Top Gear fame, who's now on the Auto Trader channel, and who's joined. I think Rory Reid's joined Fifth Gear actually, but Rory Reid had hedge trimmers, and he's trimming someone's hedge. Johnny Smith had one of those inflatable people you see at a car dealership, and like with the flailing arms and all this sort of carry on. And he plugged one of those out in the middle of a field into it. So it's just awesome. You can run 3.5 kilowatts off that plug. You could run anything. You could run your entire house off it.
So you should theoretically be able to run another one.
Run another Ioniq 5.
Yeah.
Like daisy chain them.
Well, they're also. I think Matt Watson from Carwow was charging a Leaf from the Ioniq 5 using the granny charger.
That's so cool. Like, that really is.
Yeah.
That's next level stuff. That's fantastic. I think they're the best. I think they're the best looking EV going.
Have you seen the EV6?
No, I haven't
one?
seen one of them yet. I
don't think they're out on the road yet, but they look really cool as well. They look probably cooler than the Ioniq 5. However, the Ioniq 5 has this whole retro thing going on. Some people I know love it. Some people think no, it's just flipping.
There's something cool about it. It's all the.
It looks like an Integrale, and I absolutely love that.
It's very angular, but it works in the futuristic way.
Yeah, it's a totally different proportion to Integrale. It's like someone took Integrale, stuck it in Photoshop, and said X 45% plus, please.
Yeah. I nearly got run over by one in the garage a couple of weeks ago, an Ioniq 5, and it's a big old bus.
It's big,
but it's just so cool looking. It's like they could redo Back to the Future and throw one of them in,
and it's so
with an outlet.
It's so well designed inside too. It feels so spacious. Like it has really random things. Like we'll say, it's obviously flat floor because it's a skateboard architecture with the batteries and the floor and all the rest. But it's a flat floor in the front, so you can kick your passenger if you want. Also, because the center console is sliding, like it's on rails, like a chair, so you can slide the whole armrest, cup holder, phone charger, pocket thing out of the way. It's just.
It's not the one that has the steering wheel that you can move left and right.
No, you can't. You can't do
that. You can actually make it left-hand drive, technically, or right-hand drive.
It's not that,
or but maybe it's a concept.
But it does have a funky 2-spoke steering wheel, which is kind of awesome. The glove box is like a filing cabinet drawer, which is also very strange.
It's redefining everything, isn't it? You've no transmission tunnel.
Yeah.
You've no steering column. So all this extra space, you've no engine, obviously, that's the main thing.
Yeah.
In the front, all the bulk space in the bulkhead is normally taken up.
You lose a lot of space in the rear, so it seems to be the case. A lot of those cars are rear-wheel drive. Yeah. So motor in the back, this is all-wheel drive, so motor back and motor in the front, so it has quite a high boot level. So that's probably where it's slightly compromised, but it's still a good size. It's like 550 litres, if it means anything to anyone.
Yeah.
So it's...
I suppose you're not buying one for maximum boot space, really, are you?
Yeah, but no,
it's your moonshine runs.
But it's more practical than a Tesla Model 3. It's something you can't put the dog into the back of. They start a lot cheaper. Maybe start about 36 grand for the basic one, although it's only 170 brake. And then there's a 220 brake version, all-wheel drive, and then that one 310. Sort of moving up between 36k and the 48. So it's
it needs those funky wheels, and I think you only get them on the highest models.
On the Ultimate.
The start and the middle model get the shitty looking wheels, and it really, really needs those wheels.
I need to get a photo one up here because I can't remember what the colour scheme was. Was it like all kind of 2-tone or 3-tone?
It was like two-tone, with it was white with this sort of like light grey trim. It got very dirty. Our roads are terrible at the moment. Absolutely terrible. So I had to wash it about 3 or 4 times Every time I took
Oh,
it out
yeah,
and go and
it
do
is.
some video, I wash it again.
I've Googled Ioniq 5. It sounds like a science fiction show.
Yeah,
It's so cool.
Yeah,
it's
it's a nice looking car.
yeah, it's great. I took the parents out in it for a bite to eat into Belfast, and they were just blown away by it. I don't know if the two ladies in the back enjoyed when I decided to do big launches or nip in between traffic in the M3 or something like that, you know.
At least they could plug on their hairdryers in the back.
Yeah. But
See what we're talking, so not
There's a lot of
premium,
concept
the
pictures.
ultimate.
yeah, so SE Connect and then the Premium, then the Ultimate's the sort of the three trim levels you have.
225 kilowatt is 445 a month, 5,000 miles over 4 years.
So here's
Not-
the thing.
Not dangerous.
Here's the thing about electric, right? If you can get salary sacrifice through work, that's the way to go. Especially this is why loads of company directors are all buying electric cars, right? So you've only 1% benefit in kind business car tax. If you're a 40% tax rate payer, you can put your lease through your wages and it comes out pre-tax. So you save 40% straight away. So you see,
Right.
say your lease, and I've done the numbers on this. I got a quote and it's about 480 quid a month for the Ultimate, so 310 brake. Now it was 2,700 quid down over 4 years, but forget about the down payment, the 2,700 quid for one. Park that because it's man maths after all. We can do whatever we want.
Absolutely. Yep.
Your 480. First of all, the company can claim back half the VAT. So your 20% VAT is 100 quid, so it's about 50 quid you claim back. Then you can claim back 40%, or you take the 40% out that it's not costing you because it's coming out pre-tax, which is another couple hundred quid. Then if you're on a lease at 12,000 miles a year, which is about 180 quid's worth of diesel a year, doing something 40 miles to the gallon, it nets out at about 60 or 70 quid a month.
That's getting
It's impressive,
that's
man.
getting to the here, hang on here.
That's-
Hold on a wee minute.
Now that depends. Can you get, that's called salary sacrifice. That is, can you get it through your place of work? Are you a top rate taxpayer? If you're on 20% rate, you only get 20% relief. So it's
There's
you have
various stipulations, but either way, it shows what's possible.
it's a wee bit unfair actually, because the more you're paid, the more benefit it is to going back. This is why you see company directors going by Porsche Taycans and RS e-trons and stuff like that, and Model 3 performances and all that jazz, because it is a good tax break.
Yeah. Never a big C63 or something like that.
Yeah, totally. Like it used to be.
Gas
But,
guzzler.
but they used to be nailed for company car tax benefit in kind, which, as I say, it's only 1%, so it's really small at the moment, but it's a way to go. What about the Mini? Did you ever get anywhere in that front, Craig?
I'm still working out the calculations. I'm actually starting to record just how much diesel I use, and I think it's going to come out at about. I had a couple of days off at the start of the month because I turned 40. And
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Old Man River. I think it's going to work out at probably about 230, 240 a month in diesel that I'm spending.
That's pretty serious. That what is that annual mileage? 14k a year, 15k.
Yeah, about 14.
Oh, my man maths.
So
Epic.
it is getting to the bandmass stage. So I'd be slightly worse off driving the Mini, I think, by the time I have to pay the mileage on a higher deal.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm 50-50.
Ioniq 5 is the answer. You chase that promotion and work and then just go for it.
I think actually, as much as I love the Ioniq 5, and I really love the Ioniq 5, I would wait for the EV6 GT.
Yeah.
If I had the money. It's coming out next October, I think, and it's 550 horsepower.
It
It won't be slow.
comes back to the good
Let's-
old badge snobbery at the same time, doesn't it? Well, Kia and Hyundai, there's not much badge snobbery there.
Yeah,
But I was going to say myself,
I-
I think
I don't.
a Model Y would be the job.
Yeah, I see. I've just loaded that up. That's a good looking car too.
Model Y, yeah.
We're just looking at the pictures of the EV6. We'll post these in the show notes here. It is so cool. Look at the
way futuristic next to the Ioniq.
I think it's a better resolved design than the Ioniq. The Ioniq is like a wee bit.
There's a bit more detail maybe to the Kia.
Yeah, it's a wee bit more finished.
Yeah, the Ioniq almost, as nice as it is, there's a bit of it's like a concept design that's made it on the road.
But the South Koreans know how to do it.
Yeah, they definitely do.
Yeah, EV6 GT. I think that's where it's at.
First Squid Game,
577 horsepower.
Oh, look at that in red. That's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll put a few photos into the notes.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet. So, no joy for the Mini yet. Watch this space.
No joy. Watch this space. No joy for the Mini yet. I don't know. I don't know whether I'd like to be slightly worse off in driving a Mini, or keep my Jeep.
240 quid a month. And I tell you the other thing too, servicing, right? We haven't even talked about the fact you wouldn't be paying any road tax. What about servicing? How much is a annual service for a Ioniq 5? It's about 50 quid.
Yeah, and it's not 50 quid for a Touareg, let me tell you, especially as it's getting to be 8 years old. It's starting to...
Answer me this, actually, on the topic of servicing. Obviously, electric cars still have the same issues of tyres, brakes, all the wear that you get in those. Is there anything has to be done as regards the motors?
Sealed units.
So for life?
Sealed, yeah. Sealed for life. Batteries are the same. They're an integral...
There has to be some lubrication in the motors or something that needs done?
I don't think so. I think they're now, will something like that come out of it in the next 5 or 10 years when we start to see cars getting with 150, 200k? But there's Tesla Model S's in the Auto Trader there with well over 100,000 miles, and they're just steel units. More than that, see, because of the regenerative braking, you hardly use your brake pads. So your brake pads, instead of lasting 30k, last 60k. So yes, you still need tires and all the rest, but there's literally nothing the techs can do apart from check the wipers and fill the washer fluid.
Yeah.
Well, I was looking at on the Minis. I think it might be Mini themselves. They do a service and tire pack for £20 a month.
That must be good value.
It covers all your servicing and a set of tires. £20 a month.
$240 a year.
$240 a year. So, well, I don't know. I suppose if you put 14,000 miles in tire, is it rear-wheel drive? Can you diff it at the weekends? Get your money's worth?
I presume it is rear-wheel drive, actually.
Think of the epic hangs you could get off all those roundabouts going to work.
It's a mini adventure.
Maybe Mini straight through a fucking fence when we driving it.
Whilst you're looking up which wheels are driven on which axle, I tell you the problem that this will cause. I was talking to a dealer about this last week. If you are going through school at the moment and you like cars, but why would you want to be a mechanic? Because by the time you get trained up and all the rest, internal combustion cars are
all you can do really is brakes,
are gone.
Suspension. You're the best spring fitter in the world.
I think I heard something that like 6% of mechanics are trained on electric cars. I think that came off the Guy Martin thing. Mm-hmm. Only 6% of UK mechanics are trained in how to work on an electric car. And
a lot of that will be a more software type role. So it's like, does it have the right software updates? Is it a sensor issue? Is it that sort of stuff? Rather than, I'm going to plug it in and see what's happening. Yeah, it doesn't need like a clutch nodule mass flywheel or anything like that. All those skills they'll not die out, but people will just be right. I'm in my 30s or my 40s. I've been this all my life. That's what I'm going to be.
Still need bodywork,
but you still need bodywork.
A panel beater, you will be.
Yeah, well, you can still be a panel beater,
especially big panels in those cars.
Yeah,
they're all huge.
It'll go into the type of, the way if you've got like an old car, you have to go to some old fella who's been doing it and using fucking lead and things like that. It'll be like that when you want to get your.
You'll need to take it to that fella
fixed.
You'll need to take it.
He remembers working in VTEX back in the day.
Aye.
Yeah, have to go and see a specialist. So it works.
They smoke a cigar and a big long beard.
A specialist in Northern Ireland means someone who is like totally inept and can't talk to people, but knows everything about one particular make of car.
Engine specialist.
Yeah.
Board beards.
Yeah, just internal combustion beard. We need to take it to that guy who knows about pistons and stuff.
Ice beard.
Yeah.
I cannot find out which fucking wheels are
The driven.
driven. I'm gonna suggest it's front wheel drive. Why not?
Because all the other minis are.
As all the other minis are.
They're such a short wheelbase, you can't imagine the be rear wheel drive. It could be snappy wee bastards, if so. But
Really depends. In the car that size, it
for
really
electric, it's different. I know
it
it's-
depends with the packaging, doesn't
yeah.
it? Because you sometimes get a bit of a frunk. You can only put about 100, or was it? There's a really tiny wee cubby in the front of the Ioniq 5 to put stuff. You could have briefcase type size space in it.
Yeah.
Whereas Tesla, you get a decent space in it. But yeah,
Front wheel drive. Front wheel drive they are.
well, there you go.
So I wouldn't crash it. But I don't know. It's a watch this space. My wife would really like me to get one because she loved the Mini Countryman that we had, but she also really loves the Touareg. So
See what happens.
there are no winners.
Can you see that, Andy, on the TV behind me?
Yep,
That blue one.
beautiful.
It's quite nice.
Big money.
It's the
Keep-
EV6.
Keep scrolling to the right till you get to the GT. It's not out yet.
Yeah, it's nice.
So-
21-inch alloy wheels, bucket seats, trimmed in black suede with neon green highlights.
Now, hold on. I
The
believe
iconic slipped off.
they're doing a big power version of it. In fact, look at the power. So, and we'll post this in the show notes so everyone knows what we're looking at. We're looking at the KEV6, some sort of wonderful infographic on the different cars. But the GT is kilowatts. Oh, annoys me. I want horsepower. But the other cars are 200 and something kilowatts. This one here, at the if you scroll on down to the bottom there, Gary, I think it says 430 kilowatt. The other ones are 239 kilowatts, 430. I have a feeling that's 570 horse. Isn't that right? Yeah,
577.
577.
Not the
577.
62 in 3.5 seconds dead.
And they're going to put that drivetrain in the Ioniq 5, I think, as well, on some sort of guide
Yeah.
as well.
Funny enough, it doesn't mention the range, that one, although the first one in the range, the poverty spec model, so to speak, has 316 miles.
So I love this on the infographic. It says 10 to 80% charge in 18 minutes.
Yeah, it's more like 10.
Well, do you know how much charge I got my granny charger plugged into the 240 volt socket with the Ioniq 5? About 9 miles an hour.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, kind of slow. 1.3 kilowatts it was generally sitting at, so it didn't set my garage on fire. Like, just all the plugs just melted. So no,
See this thing here listed in the spec, the battery heat pump. What's that? Is that the for winter to keep it kind of at some kind of a temperature?
funny you
Or it's
mention
not
this,
freezing.
Gary. Because battery heat hump. My humps, my
Heat
my
hump?
humps. My
That's a
battery
different
heat
podcast
humps.
altogether.
So the battery heat pump is actually for like very cold countries. So it's, I think there's under a certain temperature the battery efficiency goes through the floor and people lose their range. So the heat pump like warms the batteries up
Yeah.
to get to make sure that they run on their proper efficiency. But I don't think we need that
It's
for
not like foot operated pump. You don't sit like pumping your leg.
no. It's so I don't think you need it for balmy Northern Ireland.
No,
So,
that would be. I think they're putting that into the Ioniq 5N or Nioniq 5.
the
Whatever
Ioniq
they're going to
5,
call this.
the Ironic 5.
Whatever they're going to call that. The Ironic 5. Whatever they're going to call that when it comes out. So that will probably be the same thing.
Yeah.
Do you know what? The N Division make great stuff. That i30N I drove was first class. Got back into the Yaris and went, I really like the Yaris, but the Hyundai is very, very good as well. I was very, very impressed.
The Yaris is special, last of the breed.
Yeah, it's true. True, you know, the Yaris is a bit different.
Well, until the Corolla comes out, if they do the same thing with it.
Yeah, true.
If they actually make this Ioniq 5N with the same looking the same as some of the concepts that have been drawn, then wowzers, it's absolutely fantastic looking.
Yeah, but see as something as a family mover as well. They're so comfortable. Like the fact that in the back of the Ioniq 5, it had electric seats in the back. You move them backwards and forwards, but heated seats in the back, that sort of stuff, and then the flat floor and loads of headroom, and it was just so comfortable for people just to be punted about in. It's just for a daily driver, absolutely hard to whack. But yeah, the Tesla Model Y, Tesla have opened their order books for that, and they've been cruising about in the States for ages. But there's this been the whole hoo-ha would to be built in the German, is it the Berlin Gigafactory, and then it's going to be built in the Shanghai Gigafactory, the right-hand drive ones, and then I think they're being built in Shanghai. which also shockingly are apparently producing the best quality Teslas yet. So the Chinese are taking over
Right.
the world. But yeah, they start at 46 Gs for the long range. You can't get the standard range plus in the... No, they start at 55, sorry. 55 for the long range, yeah. Big rent.
55 and 65 for the performance.
Yep, 55 and 65, so... and apparently are quite hard on the road, but still much want. Much want.
They're very cool looking. Very, very cool looking.
Are
As with
they?
all the Tesla. All the Teslas are kind
no,
of cool
they're
looking.
with a frog face.
Yeah,
Frog face.
I like it. I like that they've gone, you know what? Fuck putting the grill in so it makes the integration to electric a wee bit easier. This is what it looks like. If you don't like it, fuck it, buy one. Buy something else.
I don't know, but when you see them next to those cars we just looked at, they look a little bit bland because there's so much detail in them.
100%. I think the Ioniq 5 is far more interesting.
Although, and
thing
saying
like
that, the Tesla Roadster that you keep seeing photos of, but which hasn't appeared yet, does look amazing.
Yeah.
The little coupe thing that they're bringing out.
So
Never gets his finger out.
Tesla, but
I
65 grand.
I think that well, Musk has created this aura of awesomeness. Like the picture of the Model 3 I posted up on RMS with the SpaceX red sticker on the back of it. Because that's the type of people it attracts. But it attracts me also.
Yeah, I would
Stupidly.
very much like one, but huge money.
Yeah, but
Crazy money.
it's all about the monthlies. All about the monthlies.
The monthlies aren't brilliant, to be fair.
No. Well, is a Model 3 that much more than the Ioniq? Probably not.
Someone on the forum pointed out that Tesla do a loan thing. It was on Pete's thread, actually. Let's see.
Yeah, we'll post a link to Pete's thread. So Pete Gilchrist from PMG Autocare, you think he's getting a free plug here, but his Model 3 performance with the kit and all on it, and those wheels, it just looks absolutely incredible.
I think the whole pricing thing, it's all leading down a lane ultimately towards, this thing that they've spoke about where you won't ever actually own a car.
Yeah.
You'll lease it in some shape or form, hand it back to give you a new one.
It was KVM. The Tesla 72-month loan would be hard to whack for value, surely. Well, the Tesla 72-month loan is £9,000 down and $865 a month
Oh my God.
for 72 months.
That sounds like worstdeals.com. 72
yeah.
months.
That
7 years.
72 months, $865 a month, and $9,000 down.
It's the golden handcuffs, not the golden handshake.
Does it come with a semi-detached house to park it at?
That is a pummeling.
I was going to build a carport for it, I can't afford it now.
Speaking of taking a pummeling, Craig, you have a bit of news for us.
Yeah, I've decided that I am no longer going to do the podcast.
Craig, how could you do this to us?
I know work's just snowing me under, and because I've turned 40 recently, I'm trying to look after myself a little bit better, which unfortunately means exercising a little bit more. So I don't have as much free time as I did have, and what free time I do have, I need to rest. And to be perfectly honest, doing this scares the shit out of me.
Well, do you know what?
It really does.
You honestly never came across as terrified.
No, it definitely not. Doesn't like you say that, and it seems like the most natural thing to you.
Absolutely shitting myself prior to every episode until I sit down in this seat and accept the Zoom meeting. Absolutely shitting myself.
Flip me. Well, we don't want you to feel uncomfortable.
The fact that like our second guest was Jason Barlow, a proper motoring journalist, and I'm sitting here going, this guy's like famous as fuck, and I have to ask him a question, and it can't be stupid because he's famous as fuck. And my brain just went, nah, can't help you.
But that was a brilliant show.
You may think of something yourself.
Was it not? Was it not interesting to me? I think it's one of the best things about this podcast is you get to sit down and I've learned more about you than I ever wanted to know, especially with your smelly trainers behind you. But that's what I love about doing this. You get to meet these.
Fantastically interesting, but I mean, at one point, and Jason actually pointed it out, I hadn't said anything for half an hour.
He was a talker, in fairness.
I hadn't said a word for half an hour because I was just going, I don't know what to ask this guy. I am so far out of my depth here. It's not funny. So, unfortunately, the pre-show stress just can't continue.
Well,
so
it has been an absolute pleasure to have you, and I really appreciate all. Like, I know you have put a stack of work into the show and all the research and all the rest, and I wish you all the best in the new Banger Cruise podcast that you're probably sneaking off to do and start launch next week, because you've decided actually it's secretly awesome, and you're gonna bring back the old gang, and you're gonna buy the Calligra back, and you're gonna relive old memories. You're gonna get the Fenton show restarted.
I'm gonna get Fenton back. Sunday nights are coming back. Everything. I'm gonna get my jacket back on again. No, it's been really good fun being involved in it, and you get to speak to some brilliant people like Bob Flavin last time. I'm a huge Bob Flavin fan, and I got to have a chat with him about just cars and shit.
Bob was absolutely amazing. If definitely worth a listen to if you haven't listened to it yet. It's the last show, Gary. You missed that last show, but don't worry, we recorded it all. You can listen to it whenever you want.
I hope to catch up on it. I feel quite embarrassed that I'm one of the hosts on the podcast and I haven't listened to the last one yet. But
yeah, the last one's really too
many commitments over the last few weeks, but I will catch up on it this week.
He was brilliant.
Here, like I told you from the start, I haven't actually listened to the podcast yet. That's how genuinely uncomfortable it makes me doing it. I haven't listened to one.
You never listened to it?
You see,
nope.
So you should go and listen to it and then come back and see if you've changed your mind.
Yeah. But someday in the future you'll be listening going, that's really cool.
I'll be listening to it going, that guy vaguely sounds like me, but he hasn't said anything for 45 minutes, so I don't know.
Oh, there he is again. He's talking about mini EVs.
There he is again. He's mentioned the fucking mini EV again.
It's a bit of heavy breathing in the corner.
That's what it was like. So,
well, look,
no, and unfortunately, I have to stop.
It's been an absolute pleasure having you, and
100%.
It's been absolutely great crack. You will be sorely missed, and
it's been great fun. It really has. When I'm doing it, sitting down for the 2 hours and actually doing the show is fun. The build up to it,
it's not for you.
Not for me. It's not for me. It's just a stress fest.
Well, you're leaving the door open. You're leaving a seat that at one stage we may look to fill, and
leaving a seat and a very fancy microphone stand.
A very fancy microphone stand. I think it was £8 on Amazon.
Yeah, once I got that, I signed out.
Any minute and kill someone.
That spring could just
very fancy.
That's where all the stress comes from. You're worried about that spring taking you out.
It could take out someone's eye very easy.
Craig, it's been absolute pleasure. Good luck in all your future endeavours, as people say, as you relax into old age.
Well, you can find me on the forum being a dick to people anonymously.
Anonymously.
just not in person or on
we'll see in the forum, and hopefully now you'll listen to a few episodes and give us a bit of feedback on there.
There's a very good chance I will now start listening to the podcast. Yeah.
Oh dear, I don't know if I could put up with your critique.
Well, who's going to be the grumpy bastard now? Is the question.
Just not going to have one on the show.
I can try and take over. Can't make any promises.
It's going to be both super upbeat.
Yeah, totally. Not complaining about their weekly diesel bill.
It's worth complaining.
It is pretty grim. You see the price of fuel at the moment, 142, 143 a litre.
All-time high.
It's terrible.
Yeah. It is absolutely grim. Well, on that happy note.
On that happy note, goodbye, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, adieu.
Adios, amigo.
Take care of yourself.
Okay, so now that Rocco's gone, we can talk about our trip to the NEC Classic Car Show next month, which we would have invited him to if he hadn't left the podcast.
I'm looking forward to it even more now.
See, you don't hang around, do you? He's only gone 2 minutes. So yeah, we're heading over next month. Myself, Andy, Phil D, Pablo. Tried to talk Will cut around it, but as usual, he's having none of it. It's the UK's largest indoor car show. It's held in the NEC every year. It's over 1 million square feet of indoor ground space covered by cars. It's the equivalent of 18 football pitches. So anyone who's ever been will know that there is so much to see at it. There's numerous owners clubs covering both cars and bikes, numerous exhibitor stands, lots of new car releases. You'll see things like the last time we went, the new TVR Griffith was on display, along with some new Porsches. There's a restoration theatre where they'll do live restoration of classics. You can watch the experts in action there. There's a couple of driving areas. There's Arrive and Drive. We can pay for runs on classic cars. I think they take in a 4-mile run on roads around the NEC. And then this year there's also a Dream Drive where the proceeds go to charity. There's a number of trade stands, and they have a live stage as well, which usually has some motoring celebrities. So I think Mick Brewer, Ant Anstead, Tiff Nadell, those kind of people. And then there's also the Silverstone auctions where you'll find some very special low mileage classics and modern classics. I've put a list of some of them on RMS, which is far from exhaustive, but there's a 300ml RS4 and RS Focus with 300 miles as well, 911R, 22B Subaru, lots more, some really special stuff. So I can only say, if you've never been to the show, make a point of going. I've been now, I'd say, probably 9 or 10 times. You've been over a couple of times, Andy.
Yeah.
You can make a full weekend of it, or you could just go over for the day, and it's so handy. You fly into Birmingham Airport, the NEC is right next door to that way, so you don't even have to get a taxi or a train. You can go straight from the airport to the NEC and straight back home that evening if you desire.
Well, it's a brilliant show. I remember being at it maybe 2017, seeing an RS 500 do 125 grand in the Silverstone auctions and being blown over. I can only imagine we are in peak crazy prices at the moment.
Oh, that you'll see some crazy stuff going on at the auction, and it is very entertaining because they've it set up in such a way you can stand and watch auctions, and there's cars on display, there's people bidding in the flesh, but there's also a huge amount of people bidding online from all around the world. Yeah, and you see the prices just being driven up and driven up. Yeah,
it's unreal, and as you say, so a great weekend.
Yeah, a good weekend, not just for the cars. If you go over and make a weekend of it, obviously you'll head out in Birmingham for a few drinks and a few bites to eat, hopefully, most of the nights that we're there.
Yeah, top tip, if you go for a weekend, don't overdo it on the first night out in Birmingham.
No.
You have, as you said, what did you say, 1 million square feet of exhibition space?
Yeah, you have sore legs by the end of it.
And a very sore head if you have a big head on from the night before. But it's some spot. I just can't wait. Did it run last year?
It didn't run last year, no, because of COVID, obviously, but every other year it has been on. I think normally we head on the Friday around noon, and you can easily walk around to 6 o'clock and then go on Saturday and do 9 to 6.
Yeah.
And just about to see it all, So, and the first time I went, I was under the impression it's a classic show. It's going to be a lot of old Ford Angles and stuff from the 40s and 50s, but it's not that at all. There's a huge amount of modern classics, the kind of stuff that RMS folk are just into.
Yeah.
Lots of motorbikes, as I mentioned, lots of new stuff as well. So something for everyone.
Yeah. Oh no, I can't wait. It's great that some of these shows are starting back. I don't think actually they're doing the Geneva Motor Show, which is normally in sort of January time, February, March time. I don't think it's happening next year, so it's great to see that the classic show is on. So it's the 12th to the 14th of November, just a couple of weeks away, and I just absolutely cannot wait.
Yep, something to look forward to.
I was over in England there a couple of weeks ago. Wife and I were taking a week off and spent it around the Cotswolds. And it just so happened that I had booked to go and see the new Lotus Emira in Rydale.
Oh, nice to be nice.
Rydale Lotus, which is also Rydale McLaren and Rydale Rolls-Royce. So an absolutely awesome spot to go and see what is really the development mule for the new car. Mm-hmm. So I posted the article on RMS anyway, so I'll post the link in the show notes, and there's loads of pictures of it as well. But it was a static development mule. I couldn't drive it, so all you could do was look around it. And when I say it was a development mule, like it was a finished car, but a lot of the parts.
I was about to ask you how close aesthetically was it to the production version that you'll buy?
Pretty close. So although all the parts were like they're either laser cut or 3D printed or whatever else, it was pretty much the full thing. So strangely, you couldn't open and close the doors. Obviously, couldn't start it. I don't think there was anything to start. The seats were really hard for some reason. That the seats were in the wrong position. You couldn't move them, and the whatever that stuffed inside them was flipping rock solid. So that was probably the only letdown to something that was, if you look at the pictures of it, the Emira, it's nearly 2 meters wide, so it's getting on to the width of like a 488 Ferrari or something like that, and it just has that low, sleek profile. Yeah. It is just totally arresting when you look at it.
We were talking about the shower there. It has a real junior supercar look in my eyes. You know, it's obviously drawn inspiration from many different cars. You can see bits of McLaren, bits of Ferrari, and so on, but very much Lotus and the DNA.
But I've taken a big punt. Like I've put 2 deposits down now. Thankfully, they're all refundable at this stage. But in January, I have to make my final payment to make it up to 10% of the car's value to order it. So. I think I'm going to stick with it, even though I'm not going to be able to drive the thing until probably my car arrives, because I don't think there's even going to be any demonstrators in dealerships until probably after my car is delivered, because I'm hopefully within the top 500-ish in the UK.
What's your waiting time?
They say spring, but I think realistically maybe June, July or something like that there. And I'll know better in the early new year. But
so the Yaris will be getting hammered in the next 6 months.
Yeah, I know. So I'm still pretty lucky to have the Yaris. It was strange as well when I was away. I got a message from a guy saying, thinking of buying a GT4, any advice and all the rest. And I'm like, well, I'm actually overlooking this.
Buy mine.
Yeah, well, I didn't really get that far, but like that's where it's maybe gone to. That I said, well, look, I'm actually overlooking another car here, and he says, well, could I see yours? And so he's come and see it. So watch the space. There could be a space in the garage, and then I was thinking, well, what if it's 9 months before the Lotus comes? Maybe would I want to buy something else in between times? But you just can't buy nothing. The price of stuff is crazy.
Yeah, it's great if you're selling, not so good if you're buying, isn't it? And
yeah.
Who knows where it's going to go? As you say, in 8 or 9 months, everything could be a little bit different.
Yeah,
so if you have the Yaris there, like I think you should just hold on to it and bank the money.
Yeah,
write it out.
Yeah, well, that's possibly the plan, especially as we were saying there, and the price of fuel and the price of everything at the moment. Maybe just pull the horns in for a minute or two and be happy with what I have, because I'm pretty fortunate with what I have.
That's it. Yeah, most people might have just the one car and it might just be a Yaris. But
first world problems.
Yeah.
But and when we were over there, we were staying in the Cotswolds, which is have you ever been in that part of the world? It's absolutely beautiful. I've never been until we went away. It was just wanted to go somewhere, didn't want to fly, so we drove down. Actually went to track day at Castle Combe. Sadly was in the wife's diesel Q3, so we didn't take it out for a few laps, but that's a really cool place. A lovely wee village as well, where they filmed Warhorse, great Spielberg film. It's awesome, but the track's cool as well. But one thing we were worried about, and part of the reason we took the Q3, was the fuel shortages.
The infamous fuel crisis.
Well, it seems to be dying down a bit. But we brimmed the Q3 before we went down. It had about 600 miles range and cruised down the M6. And sort of saw you could get diesel, no problem. But in the services, it was about 155 a litre, which is just crucifying. So we sort of waited, we'll wait till we get right down into the Cotswolds. And saw a few places, 145 litre. And then, of course, the miser comes out and he's like, we'll get somewhere, it'll be 139. We'll see a 4p litre.
Pushing on.
And then the next thing, you're down to 50 miles range, and then you roll in somewhere, and you roll up to the pump, and it looks like all the pumps are available, and it's like, no, all the diesel pumps are sold out and have the yellow sign. But don't worry, the BP Ultimate pump at 165 litres available or unleaded.
All your worst nightmares realised.
If it brought the Yaris, which would only had about 350 miles range, I could have got petrol anywhere. Petrol was no problem. Diesel, you were sort of, depending on you were, 1 in 3 or 1 in 4 petrol stations had it. So you could get it fine as long as you weren't a dick and just ran yourself out of range.
Yeah, just gambling. I have this awful tendency, and I've always had it, to, from down and the fuel light's on and you've got 10 miles left, and I see a fuel station up ahead or a petrol station, and it might be another side of the road, and I just will keep going thinking it'll be one on my side, and there's less traffic, and get in and out, and you just keep pushing it, and you end up then stuck or something out there. But I've done it all my life, and it's an awful habit to get out of.
Do you know, on a separate note, the RMS meets sometimes are done on the Applegreen between Belfast and Lisburn.
Yeah.
But it's always on the country bound side, and I'm coming down into Lisburn, have to go the whole fucking way into Stockman's Lane, drive the whole way out again.
20 miles, just get back.
Yeah, first world problems. but I don't mind because the meat's good crack. But yeah, so it was a bit annoying that the running costs of stuff, and I don't know, is that going to have an effect on the sales of cars or what people are buying? Are they going to think, well, do you know what, I don't really want to run something that only does 20 miles to the gallon, even though I've got full COVID YOLO, you know?
Yeah. The whole fuel crisis thing, though, it was hard to kind of get a read on it because so many different opinions online. People, obviously, it was real. Like there were people queuing at forecourts. You saw it yourself, and they'd run out. But people were queuing because they genuinely thought we're not going to be able to get fuel. And was that real or not? That's the question. A lot of opinions were that the media were just making big headlines out of it, and that was it.
Definitely, the media were big a lot worse. I never saw a queue.
None.
Really? No queues. But I saw the odd time where someone rolled up to a pump, and then like, oh yeah, big yellow sold out flipping thing over the pump. But that was really the worst of it.
I think it was around London. Maybe built up parts of cities. There was plenty of footage of queues and things, and there was even fights breaking out. And I think some guy pulled a knife on someone just to try and get a bit of petrol, which never ends well for anyone. But the oil companies themselves had said there was plenty of petrol, but the issue was drivers. They didn't have enough tanker drivers. There were around 100,000 drivers short, apparently.
Being an HG driver at the moment, oh my goodness, you can just command any price whatsoever.
You would think. I think the problem was that you have to have a special type of qualification to drive a fuel tanker as opposed to a normal HGV.
So you need to have your class 1 plus something else.
So they were drafting in military personnel and trying to get short-term visas out just to get tanker drivers from other countries. And I think the shortage really stemmed from a mixture of COVID and Brexit issues, and also just some drivers were retiring during those periods and they weren't able to replace them.
That was a problem too, wasn't it? That the whole training thing as well. In fact, the memes were flying about the place about Jim here's just passed his class 1 and like the half of the whole back of the lorry's crushed. At least he's standing there with his certificate, looking very pleased with himself because they'll just literally take anyone.
Boris shaking hands with him.
But it's mad. Although, are we starting to see the end of the shortage of new cars? I get the feeling that things are starting to move. They're either starting to move again, or the sales are starting to slow down, or something's happening in the market. I get the feeling, and the yardstick is the price you get for something on We Buy Any Car. I think that's peaked.
I wonder, is that a false flag though? It's not maybe the best yardstick to judge by. Because We Buy Any Car, we're notoriously fickle anyway. They'll give you a price and then mark it down if there's a scratch on a mirror.
True.
By a few thousand.
Well, that is true, but they are owned by, and I know that as much as I use the Auto Trader, you're a BCA.
I'm a BCA man through and through. I'm on it every day, having a nosy.
Aficionado, and between that and Cinch and all the rest, they're just buying up everything, and I think that their prices are just starting to thaw a bit.
Well, fun enough, like my brother works in the family business. He would buy quite a lot of stuff through BCA for stock, but he said it's been very, very difficult over the last few months to get any stock at all. Mm-hmm. So if BCA own We Buy Any Car, they're obviously trying to buy stock and then maybe push it through the auctions to get it resold. Mm-hmm. Sometimes sold on the forecourt or else sometimes sold through the auction, but they're obviously having the same problem as everyone else. They just can't get their hands on enough stuff.
They own that Cinch brand as well for the direct sales as well, but...
And as I mentioned the other day, to even the likes of the big dealerships, one of my colleagues in work was approached to resell his 2-year-old 340i BMW back to Bavarian, and like they offered him a crazily good deal for him, just to get it back.
He's maybe making money out of the whole thing, was he?
I can't say. I don't want to say too much. It's his business, but yeah, he's done well out of it, and he's getting a good deal on a replacement car that he wanted to get from them.
Yeah, no, I'm hearing stuff about people getting their money back from the dealer after 2 or 3 years. Yeah, it's mad.
It's nuts. So on a related note, and it pains me to say this as a self-confessed electric car hater, best-selling car in the UK for the first time ever in September was an electric vehicle, a Tesla Model 3. They sold 6,879 units, outselling everything else. Vauxhall Corsa came second, BMW 3 Series in third place, and then...
Who still buys a Corsa?
Loads of people, apparently. Loads and loads.
Holy
students.
Shit. Unbelievable.
Yeah. I'm actually more surprised that the BMW 3 Series is in there in third place, because, as a premium car, it will be obviously a bit more expensive than the others, but they're selling really well.
I was going to say...
There's no Audi A4 or any other kind of competitor, no Lexus or Alfa Romeo or anything else.
I was going to say exactly the same thing about the Model 3, starting at 40 grand and nearly 7,000 units
But then maybe that's the
shifted.
incentives, as like Rocco was mentioning, the company incentives. 'Cause
True.
these aren't just private sales; these are just overall sales in the UK.
The other thing is that Tesla did not suffer the same chip issues that a lot of other manufacturers did.
True, yeah.
I think was it. I was reading that whenever the chip issues were happening and their supplier says that we can't supply the chips, a lot of manufacturers those are the only chips that'll work because their software is designed to
Yeah.
run on it. Whereas Tesla was just like, we'll just buy chips from somewhere else we'll just rewrite our software to work with
Yeah.
those chips, and away they went.
They adapted.
And in fact, did I see, was it the CEO or one of the high ups of VW had Musk on as a guest with one of they did a big executive conference for 2,000 of their executives and brought Musk along and said, look, this is an example, like this, the way they dealt with the chip shortage. This is how a company like VW needs to move.
Yeah.
And it was interesting actually. Because of the amount of electrification that other manufacturers are, you'd think, well, they're obviously in competition, but it was nice that they were talking to each other, especially when it's interesting as well that you could argue that Volkswagen were the ones that caused the move to electrification because of Dieselgate. Anyway, I'm getting away down the rabbit hole here.
It's a good point, and it was definitely a big driver towards electrification.
Yeah, like if they because
a
of
lot
that
of people
whole
just lost confidence in them.
Yeah, totally.
So special mention on that list, I suppose, we'll go to Toyota and Volkswagen and Kia, who all have 2 cars each in the list of best-selling cars in September.
Well, the Yaris is up there, but it's not GR Yaris. I can't
I
believe
wondered,
how...
because your GR Yaris isn't really a Yaris underneath.
No, it's
is
not.
it?
No,
Not like the Yaris that your granny would buy, anyway.
no. But the numbers seem very low, so I'm just going to steal the numbers from your list here.
Yeah.
About 7,000 Teslas, about 5,000 Courses, about 5,000 3 Series, 4,000 Yarises. Those numbers seem really small. Like it's a totally different year, isn't it?
Yeah.
To what we've seen before.
I think overall they're down about 40% over the last 10-year average. So you could throw in many reasons for that, I guess. There's obviously COVID has been a major factor in car sales, but also just second-hand models seem to be, as we were just saying, they're hard to get. They seem to be selling really well at the moment, so maybe that's driving down new car sales. People are opting to go for lightly used cars or slightly used cars.
Well, at the moment, for me, it actually seems to be better value to go and buy a new car.
Yeah.
Because the depreciation is pretty much, especially if you're buying something that is a low run number, the depreciation is non-existent.
But you have to wonder too, there's people who buy cars and it's a very long term thing. They might give them 6-7 years before they change, and maybe there's a lack of confidence there. Maybe they're at the stage now since, should we buy this petrol or this diesel if everyone's going to electric cars in a couple of years? So they might be holding out and buying something second hand.
One of the things that's really held back the used car market, so there's obviously the chip shortage and all the rest has hurt new cars, and you're not getting that same influx. But someone say like Europe Car, one of the hire car places, so you'd have people flying in on business trips and hopping in a hire car and doing a lot of miles in it. So Europe Car would be going by, 5, 10, 20,000 cars a year or something like that, plus all the other hire car agencies, company fleet vehicles and all the rest.
And that's a big portion.
That's a huge driver for the whole market. If the market's not getting that input, it's like a whole machine.
Yeah.
And the cogs just aren't turning the same way as...
What's that? There's a knock-on effect from everything.
Yeah. So people are out buying Tesla Model 3s. Unbelievable.
It'll be interesting to come back maybe in 6 months and look at the figures, then, and compare them to these and see if it's gone up any.
Yeah. Yeah. Or has has it changed? Or is electric going to go through the roof? Certainly, you look in the go in the Auto Trader and pick electric cars. There used to be 1,000 cars for sale. But about a year ago, you'd be 1,000 second-hand cars for sale. Now it's about 5 or 6.
Yeah. The thing that surprised me maybe more about the list is that you tend to see quite different models, kind of branched closely together there. If I see a Vauxhall Corsa selling 5,000 units, I would expect almost to see a Fiesta at number 3 or number 4, something similar, selling a similar amount. But
you have a Polo at number 7.
Yeah.
Which I suppose is an Igo, much smaller, and then the Gulf side stuff, number 9, Kia Niro.
But you have a Corsa there, and then below it a 3 Series, and then a Nissan Qashqai, and then a Kia Sportage, and SUV down below it. So they're all quite different. But surprised actually there's no Ford in the list at all, and some of the other big names that you would expect to see as well.
Yeah. I thought someone like they're kind of bargain basement, but I kind of like them now. The Dacias,
Yeah.
you know, the Dacia Duster with the terrible
Highly affordable.
Yeah, another one of them bites the duster, flipping horrendous ad. I thought though you see quite a lot of those out in the road, and I think they're a good seller if you just want something cheap and cheerful. In fact, I think Richard Meaden, an Evo, is running a long-termer Dacia Duster, isn't he? And he really likes it.
I've read Evo a long time, as you know. I'm a big, massive fan of it. But he's a really, really interesting journalist, I have to say, because he's the guy you get a sense that he's not concerned about how exclusive the car is, how much it costs, or if it's a supercar or not. Like, he will have a Bentley as a long-term car for 6 months, and then it'll be in something like that, the Duster, and then it could be in a McLaren, and then in a Volkswagen Polo.
He had an Insignia GSI or an Insignia Elite or something really.
But no matter what it is,
shite.
he will just look for its best qualities and write something really good about it, and he will be totally honest. He's obviously a guy who enjoys driving. I think he's a 106 for LA locked away, plus a 964 RS, which he bought back before the prices went absolutely insane. But it's always interesting reading about stuff like that there. It's maybe even more interesting reading about things like the Duster he has. And he's having to write about it and pull out all the dynamic qualities he can find. It's maybe easy to write about something like a McLaren because it'll just blow you away every time you go out in it.
Yeah.
Not so much the Duster.
It's easy to become a badge snob. It's interesting even talking about. There's certain people that if you'd say, oh, like Kia or Hyundai, they would just sort of turn up their nose. And then I'm like, these guys make the second best to probably Tesla electric cars on the market.
So they know what they're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. They definitely do. They've went from zero to hero.
So what else we're going to chat about in car sales? Oh, and other news that no one cares about. Struggling SsangYong are to be sold for just £170 million. So I'd say if everyone in RMS slumped together, we could almost have bought them.
Flip, 170 million. That was incredibly.
It's nothing for a car company.
Generous.
They're being bought by Korea bus maker Edison Motors, who specialise in
North Korea motors.
North Korea Motors.
Is that outside Garva or somewhere?
No, I think it's just north of Randallstown.
Yeah.
Apparently they specialise in electric and hybrid buses, and they have plans to expand the electric cars. So they've bought SsangYong and probably want to do something special with them.
That would be a typical Northern Irish dealership name, right? I sell Kia and Hyundai, but I'm in the north of Ireland, so I'll call myself North Korea Motors, and have no idea if the irony of that. And if the guy that ran it was called Kim, that would just be the icing on the cake, wouldn't it?
With a nice bowl haircut.
Yes.
So
Ronery.
So it's a strange coincidence that 80 or 90 years after their deaths, we're going to see both Edison and Tesla Motors competing for car sales, electric cars. So both men obviously lauded as geniuses in the field of electricity, amongst other things.
Oh, aye.
But Edison probably have some way to go yet before they're spoken in the same regard as Tesla.
Unreal. Any other shoddy car news? I heard that there was news of trying to resurrect Saab.
Is there?
As an EV manufacturer, which I think would be awesome.
That'd be great. There's a lot of love for Saab. There's that thread in RMS with just photos of Saabs, and they're a car I never really was interested in or noticed until I got a bit older. And now I look at them, I think they've got a really unique style and there's something good about it.
I loved
the turbos were awesome.
My 993 Estate was only a couple of grand's worth of daily hack like dog car, but very practical. Okay, it was a Vectra underneath, but that meant it was cheap to fix and all the rest. And it was just quirky and Swedish inside and
different
and different. Yeah, the best thing about it had this what they call the night panel button, and you pressed it and it turned off all the gauges and everything else. Just made it super dark because they were trying to get this whole aviation theme.
Aye.
So, but yeah,
I always thought of them kind of as Volvo's kind of weird cousin.
Yeah,
it's a distant member of the family somehow. But
look at Volvo now; they are
they've
top premium. Yeah. So that's where I look at Lotus, and I think, well, if Geely can do what they did with Volvo to Lotus, I'm in safe hands with this Emira. So I'm really placing all my faith and my pound notes in there. in their care.
girl I work with bought an XC40, the new Volvo, the other day, and had a look around it. Like, really, really nice, really well finished, and quite funky inside. And it's a small SUV, I guess is how you would describe it, but definitely would put you in the mind for one.
Did you buy it petrol or diesel?
A diesel.
Good, because the in-laws bought a petrol. Petrol turbo is like a 15 turbo or something like that there. It does like high 20s to the gallon. And it's like, my GT4 in a run will do 30 to the gallon. They are disgusted with the fuel economy.
Is it a small engine? Or is that like one?
I think it's
1.5 turbo.
1.5 turbo. It's like 150 brake or something like that, or 180 brake.
But they probably run like very high pressure.
Yeah, probably a high pressure turbo
Just to try and get the power out of it.
So they are absolutely disgusted with the. So buy a D3 or D4.
Yeah, something with a torque.
I think they do an all electric XC40.
There might be a hybrid of some kind. I'd have to Google it. I'm not too sure.
Just don't do the hybrids. They're here. There must be more interesting things to talk about. Anyway, what else do we have? What else is on your list? What's been happening the last while?
Gordon Murray's T50.
Oh, it's awesome.
It's amazing. It's the closest road car in terms of noise that I've ever heard in an F1 car. It has a 4-litre, Cosworth V12. Revs to 12,100 RPM. Now, you know me, I'm a Honda head, always have been.
Yeah.
And when we had our VTECs and Integra Type R's revving to a shale under 9,000, we thought you couldn't go much higher than that. Screaming at set off. So imagine another 3,000 RPM on top. Yeah,
unreal.
It's getting close to like probably what motorbikes are doing. I don't know.
It's just an absolute halo car, isn't it?
And there's a few videos that was out at Goodwood. Ex-IndyCar NASCAR champion Dario Franchitti took it out for a run, and you just have to go on YouTube and have a listen. I'm sure you can probably drop a few audio clips into this to let people hear it.
I'll drop in the audio of it.
It doesn't even sound like a road car.
No, unbelievable.
I'd say it'll be fairly sharp too. It's 650 horsepower from a 4-litre V12, and it actually weighs less than the McLaren F1 did.
I think we'll post some links to the show notes. In this, one of the Dario had been out testing there was a mule based on some other car running that engine recently, wasn't there?
Yeah, was it the Ultima?
Yeah, they'd thrown it in Ultima, so it was kind of weird looking, but it was.
And then they had a pre-production version of the T50 itself actually out.
As well. The big fan, if anyone's listening, and this car has a huge fan at the back. This is all to do with the ground force, isn't it?
Yeah.
Literally sucking itself to the ground.
Air out
but it is a wee bit strange to have this like pedestal fan stuck to the back of it. Do you think it'll catch on? Do you think people will be like reading the equivalent of Max Power and saying, well, sure, we'll stick this on the back of my Tesla?
I don't know. It remains to be seen, how effective it is. I'm sure it's very effective if Gordon Murray's behind it, because, he's not a purist when it comes to design and function over form and things like that there. But it is strange looking. You kind of look at it and it reminds you, if you have any children in your house, of Hot Wheels cars. Like something that, stuck a big turbine in the back of it. They make it look like a rocket or a jet.
Gordon Murray has very randomly, I believe, an Alpine A110 as his daily driver.
He does, yeah. He really champions lightness in cars. I think he's not a fan of modern cars. He thinks, if he took him out in a McLaren, he'd probably say it's too heavy, and same for Ferraris. The McLaren F1 was famously quite light for all the, the engineering that went into it. And as I mentioned, this one now, which is kind of the spiritual successor to the F1, is a bit later again. I think it's probably the guts of like having two passengers removed from the F1. It's brought it down that kind of weight.
Unbelievable. I don't think I've seen many Alpines over here at all. Maybe one or two.
No, well, that's just why I mentioned that, because they're also a car that they kept quite light, and I think that was one of their main aims in their development. And he did an interview a couple of years ago, which I read. He was speaking about Alpine, and he was a huge fan of it.
The Alpine factory, I think, it's in Dieppe, isn't it, where they build the Renault Sport cars as well. Is Renault Sport, is it no more? I think that the
really
French
know of.
rules have sort of killed Renault Sport.
Probably a bit, but I think they also lost their way. If you think back when they had the Clio, the 172, the 182, the Megane R, which was the track-focused Megane.
The R26R, yeah.
And then they brought out the Clio 200, and then when they brought out the newer shape Clio, which had the DCT gearbox,
Yeah.
5-door, it just wasn't well received. It seemed to have lost the magic somehow.
Although some of those new, hot RS Meganes, like they brought out the one with the carbon wheels and all the rest,
Yeah.
and the last few wheels. So, like some of those cars, okay, the carbon wheel car was a wee bit ridiculous. It was like 70 grand or something like that. But the trophy version of it was absolutely incredible. It's a real shame to see those cars die away. I think they've just been legislated out of existence.
Yeah.
In France.
And Renault have they've quite a long history. If you remember back to the Clios that we looked at, the 16 valves and the Williams, they were all great driving cars. And there was always a Peugeot alternative to it, which kind of they disappeared off the rear there too.
Yeah.
As far as performance cars go and performance hatches, but it'd be nice to see some kind of lightweight Renault hatchback. I think Renault, out of all the manufacturers, would have been the ones that would have brought out something like what your GR Yaris is, but never did.
Never did. I know.
Yeah.
I know the Yaris is a real.
It was a kind of a left field thing from Toyota. No one was expecting.
Anyway, tell me about this new Range Rover. You were ranting and raving about it earlier on. I know you've had a few in the family.
Yeah, they've a new model coming out. So literally, just the news was released today of the new model. It's the 5th generation. It's going to come out, I think, next spring. So they've been out since 1970. Although they've only made 5 generations, so I think the first few generations lasted for decades.
Yeah.
They sold 1.25 million Range Rovers, believe it or not, since 1970.
Unbelievable.
Very loyal fan base, apparently. 3 out of 4 owners repeat buy. So obviously know what they like. And it is, if you know anyone with a Range Rover, as I do, they do tend to go back to them. I think they're quite a unique thing there, whereas some people might buy Volvos or BMWs or type of SUVs and jump between brands. But Range Rover seem to attract a certain kind of fan base that sticks with them.
Have you seen John Payton's 2-door one that was in
it was class.
the car years? Absolutely incredible. I'm just looking at
Not too many of those around.
No,
back in their day.
I'm just looking at the pictures of this new beast here now, and they are an ostentatious monster of a car, aren't
They're
they?
a big yoke, aren't they?
We'll post some pictures of this in the show notes. Doesn't look a million miles different from the old car, but okay. The front end looks kind of similar, but the back, the arse of it looks a bit weird. I don't know what is it?
It's evolution, definitely not revolution. It's very similar around, but they've definitely changed a few things at the back. They've got this kind of new line running across the boot and fin strips for the whites, which are quite different to what's came before. So I think might be their hardest sell of the new model. Really, is just getting that across. They've also removed all evidence of any exhaust pipes.
The rear light cluster looks like the thickness of electrical tape, and it looks like there's something missing. I suppose this is flipping with maybe all these EVs to think with this weird design language that's going on at the moment.
This is the thing, and I think as it just mentioned, the exhausts have disappeared too. Even though there are going to be diesel and petrol versions and all there, but I think this is probably just an example now of car manufacturers starting to get people accustomed to not seeing exhaust pipes in cars and getting them to use these types of styling changes.
Is there? Are they doing a full EV one or?
There will be down the line for now. I think there's a 300 brake diesel. There's a 523 horsepower twin turbo V8 petrol, which sounds interesting. It won't be badged to SVR because I don't think they ever had an SVR in the range top end Range Rover. But if there's a Range Rover Sport down the line, there probably will be a version.
I never had an SVR in what they call the full fat.
No. Although they did have powerful engines, but they were never badged as SVRs. And there will be a hybrid version. Probably a few iterations amongst them as well. So there's lots of new interior features, the new model, so it may not look hugely different from the outside, but certainly have a lot of new tech in there. The dash is quite different. They've gone down the full kind of Tesla route of having a massive iPad-like tablet stuck in the middle of the dash.
Just looking at pictures of it here in this
floating screen, as they call it.
Floating screen. What is the deal with this? We'll just get a large screen and just slap it on the dash.
I like them integrated, as I mentioned. I always do. I prefer them sort of built into the dash. I think it's neater. They always look like they're kind of stuck on, or you expect them to slide away, like the Audi ones that used to pop out of the dash, which are always kind of neat solution.
I'm just looking at the picture of the dash here, and something that you definitely notice it about in a Model 3, but in the Ioniq 5 as well, quite a low button count, but if you have these sort of haptic or screen buttons to control things as well, that can be a pain in the ass because you can't really feel about for it when you're...
That's the thing, it's taking your eyes off the road trying to find it, at least until you become so familiar you don't have to look, but it's a common complaint nowadays that they're taking away physical buttons is maybe not a good thing.
And like the Ioniq 5, a 2-spoke steering wheel.
Yep.
Interesting. It's quite nice looking in there though, I have to say.
Yeah, there's a lot of tech. They've really focused on comfort, I think, reducing noise. The noise is down something like 24% overall. And to do this, aside from the physical things of all the interior carpets and all that there soaking up the noise, they've actually put in 35 internal speakers, which sounds a bit over the top, but these are noise cancelling speakers.
Unbelievable.
So other than that, just lots of new tech, lots of updates. It's all set up for 5G. It'll update all its software systems wirelessly as you're driving along. Download all the updates in the background. And
JLR, it'll break itself down all by itself if it can get a bad update. It will.
And hopefully ring for help itself when it does happen.
Those things will sell like hotcakes, even though they are an absolute brute to a certain type of owner. Oh, look, the door handles come out like the. Have you seen the Velar, or is it the Velar, or whatever
Velar,
they call
I think it is. Yeah, they're integrated. And
they sort of slide out towards you. Yeah.
Okay, Range Rover have a winning formula there, and they're sticking with it. Obviously, they're not trying to change too much, and as you say, I'm sure it'll sell loads and loads and loads.
Absolutely. Just I hope that they are. Jaguar Land Rover, sorry, that group, they just have these reliability issues, but they definitely make very desirable looking cars.
Yeah.
I know you haven't seen this, but I have the new Bond, No Time to Die.
I haven't seen it, so if you tell me how it ends or anything spoilers, I will murder you.
This spoiler free. Well, the Defender, now, it was brand new when they were filming it, but the film's been held back so long now that they're not that new because they're out already. But
was it 2 years? It was held back.
Yeah. So the Defenders before, I think they had some pre-production cars that were used for the filming. So there's a big sort of forestry sequence where there's a whole big chase scene, and the new Defenders are chasing. I think they're chasing like old Land Cruiser. Is it the Land Cruiser Prado you call it? Which is sort of like a 80s or 90s Land Cruiser, and these the baddies are chasing.
As per movie rules, they're the old ones probably faster than the new ones.
Yes, exactly.
So Resto mod or something.
Exactly, it's like the Renault 4s chasing the 2CV from For Your Eyes Only. Not that I'm a Bond buff or nothing like that.
The Bond, what was it not Quantum of Solace? Wasn't it? There was an Alfa Romeo chasing an Aston Martin.
Yes, the Alpha chase at the start is epic,
and the Aston couldn't pull away from it.
Yeah,
but sure, it's movies.
Healthy, but if we've covered everything we have in the new Range Rover, I know you haven't seen the film. I'm going to talk to you about some of the cars that are on it.
Okay, go for it.
So, if you're listening and you haven't seen No Time to Die, go and see it just for the cars. It's a good film. It's quite long. It's nearly 3 hours.
Jason Barlow did a bit with that, didn't he? He was involved in it.
Jason Barlow,
I remember him talking about this during when we had him on the podcast.
Has written a brilliant Bond cars book. So I bought it before he came on the podcast, but I've been reading away at it. That's just the detail in it is just absolutely epic. And how can you not love Bond cars? Lotuses and Astons and all the rest. It's just absolutely awesome. But this particular film has loads of cool cars in it. Obviously, it has the DB5, which has been in Skyfall and Goldfinger and everything.
Staple.
Yeah, so it's the one that you've seen. I don't know if you've seen Mark Webber driving it. It has the E46 M3 engine in it.
Ooh,
so that's what they put in it for the stunt cars. Yeah, so it's super slidey. So there's loads of videos going about of journos getting the sliding about it, which makes it all epically cool, especially when there's machine guns popping out of the front headlights. They have the 80s Aston Martin. I think this model of Aston Martin came out in the late 70s, and I'm not too sure what version it is, but it's like the V8. And it was in the Living Daylights with Timothy Dalton and stuff like that. It's the one which had, I think, the fog lights in the front of it. It's in this film.
Advantage?
Yes, V8
Original
Vantage.
Vantage?
Yeah, the
Yeah,
original
so it's-
V8 Vantage. So it's like a B reg one. So what's B, mid 80s,
something like that. Yeah, around mid 80s.
Living Daylights was 87, I think. DBS is on it. The Range Rovers are in it. There's the Range Rover Sport. There's the Defenders. There's the Land Cruiser. Actually, I think is it in Q's layer. I'm giving a wee bit away here, but in the background is the Aston Martin Valhalla. You know this epic supercar.
Yeah,
So
this mythical one that they're going to release.
Yeah, exactly. So it's hiding in the background. There's also some older Maserati Quattroportes, like early 2000s ones, and they're like standard Bond body destroyed in the background type.
Disposable.
Yeah, disposable. Can you hang this machine gun out of the back of it? I think it's a criteria for a body Bond car. It has to be like a 4-door saloon. Like, was it in?
Whereas Bond gets the coupe.
Yeah, Bond gets the sexy coupe and the sexy lady. The bodies get a Quattroporte is quite nice, but okay, maybe mid 2000s isn't that nice
Or else
anymore.
an SUV, a black SUV of some kind.
Oh yeah, totally. Like that's more modern. Not like was it the Cortina or something like that in The Spy Who Loved Me that was chasing the Lotus? It just wasn't as cool looking.
It's the same in all films, isn't it? Even in America, sure, they're always driving them. What do you call them? Massive American SUVs. They all drive.
You mean an Escalade, the big caddy for the drive-by shooting? I've got 99
We had to
problems.
go and look that up.
And fuel consumption is all 99 of those problems. But yeah, so all those cars were cool. But Bond cars are amazing. Like you could just sit and read that.
What's your personal favourite?
Don't ask me that. I always love the Lotus because For Your Eyes Only or The Spy Who Loved Me, some of my favourite films, even though they're super cheesy. But there's something about the esprit being thrown about on those country roads in Sardinia or whatever it is. It's just absolutely epic. Aston love as well. I'm sure you've looked in the Auto Trader at how much is a 05 V8 Vantage or something like
course,
that there.
yeah.
And in fact,
With machine guns.
yeah, but like a Vantage now, like a 4.3 V8, they were nearly as cheap as 23 grand. Even those are about 30 grand at the
They were
moment.
down there, yeah, and they've popped back up a bit, but it's the ownership bills. I think it would terrify you with those kind of cars. But
I think the clutch is the
Lot of-
biggest issue with those,
yeah.
but because they're like is it a transaxle box or something on those things. But
a
apart
lot of
from
car
that,
for the money, nonetheless.
yeah,
I think, like on that topic, maybe in a future podcast, it'd be nice to do a kind of our own free list of if you bought this car new at 60 grand, here's what you could buy second hand as an alternative. There's a lot to be said probably for buying an Aston at 30 grand.
Yeah.
And you're getting so much car for the money, but it's not brand new, but you can live with that because of what you're getting.
I wonder when the VAT Vantage came out, was it because it has always looked awesome ever since it was launched in what was it 05 or 06.
Still do.
And yeah, it's just totally timeless out of the door. A great.
They just got it right from
Bye.
day one.
But although the new one, I don't know if there's as much love for the new one. Is it the fact that they've used the AMG 4-litre V8 twin turbo in it? Is it the styling? I don't know.
So I like the new one, and they're really distinctive from the rear. There was always something about the front of it looked unfinished, but around the bottom of the bumper, just where the valance normally would sit, it's just something not quite right there. Doesn't gel right with me, but other than that, still stunning all around.
What's your favourite Bond car?
Probably a left field choice. I'm not going to go with an Aston Martin. I do love the DB5 and the DBS and all the ones he has.
I am going to predict
Go for it.
it's going to be the is it the Toyota GT2000 out of
Nope.
You Only Live Twice. No,
The Z8 BMW.
the Z8 with the M5 engine in
Yeah,
it, isn't it?
yeah.
Oh yeah, the one that gets cut in half.
Sadly, yes. I've always been a massive fan of them just ever since I first saw one. I love AC Cobras. I love that kind of roadster
Yeah,
look from the 60s, and that's just what they have. And then they put on an M5 E39 engine,
Yeah.
400 horsepower. They weren't actually well received when they came out, but they seem to have aged really well. And guys are driving them now and saying, I can't believe I reviewed this badly.
Yeah.
In fact, Harry's Garage had one on a few weeks back. If you want to go and watch the episode, and even he loves it.
Yeah.
And admits himself that he probably didn't love it back in the day. But something about them, they just were really different, and it's a shame they were never brought out left-hand drive. You couldn't buy one.
You couldn't buy a right-hand drive one?
They're only sold really in Europe, left hookers. So even if you wanted to go and buy one now, it would be a left hooker that you bring over. But stunning cars and really, really nice inside, and probably slightly ahead of their time. If you look at the dash and the way they're finished inside,
they a Bangle design car, were they?
Yeah.
So the Bangle era with the E65 series and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and quite slim LED like lights in the rear and things like that. There, all these little design touches that you're starting to see in cars that are being released nowadays. So they're probably coming back into fashion in some shape or form, but they've never really gone down in price. They've always sat around $100,000.
It's unbelievable.
And held their value as well.
Well, something very along those lines that I think has aged well, but it's quite good value now. Is the Z4, like a Z4 Coupe, not even in a
which generation?
Oh, like
the Vangle one, or the automatic roof one that came out after it.
Oh, I'm not too sure the difference here now. You've just pulled up
so
the Z8s, which we'll put in the show notes, and actually they are stunning.
I'll come back to Z8 in a minute.
So yes, there's
that's the post Bangle model.
Okay, so that's the
E89.
E89. I quite like the E89. I think it's a very smart looking.
And then the Chris Bangle version would have been the one before that, which you would have had the. That's not it there. Sorry, I'm still trying to find it. There was like a Z4M version of it. Remember, Woodcutter had one.
Yes,
is that the one you're talking about?
With you can get the M Coupe bread van. Those are the Bangle and it was just really a facelift, but they are quite similar.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you can buy like a coupe, which isn't an. So you can buy a coupe which isn't an M Coupe.
Yeah, you get there's a 3-litre I.
3-litre SI or something like that.
Roughly 254 brake or something.
Sort of like a 330i Club Sport type engine in it or something like
still,
that.
they're not slow by any means.
I think you can pick one of them for $6,000 or $7,000. I think they are
great looking car.
A smart looking. Okay, it's a two-door roadster.
Visually, it looks no different to the Z4M. It has a lot of punch. So you could buy like that one there in the photo, which we'll drop in the show notes. Buy a nice kind of fresh looking red one like that, set of CSL wheels, and it's a great looking car for the money.
Funny you mentioned Harry's garage. So when I was over in the Cotswolds last week.
Oh, you were near him, weren't you?
Yeah, I was about.
Not go in, introduce yourself.
10 or 15 minutes from. I'm sure I would. I wouldn't have the balls to introduce myself. Even if I did, it would be like, and who are you? Get off my land. But
shotgun out.
Yeah. So normally when you see Carrie do a test, he drives through this beautiful wee village of Burford, and we were only about 10 minutes, 15 minutes from there. So we were in there quite a lot. So I sort of saw all the roads around which he does all his road testing. And then
there's that famous kind of there's a crossroads that sits on. He always kind of guns it away from there.
Yeah. So I saw that, and then also actually very near to him is Clarkson. So I went to Diddley Squat, the Clarkson's farm shop. Yeah,
did you see the man himself?
No, I didn't see him. Now I didn't actually buy anything from the farm shop either. and
fuck you, Clarkson. You're not getting my money.
Yeah. But slightly off topic. Have you seen Clarkson's farm?
I still haven't. It's on. I have a long list of things I want to watch.
It
just
is
time.
A fantastic show. Yes, it's not about cars, but it is Clarkson out of his comfort zone, and he's hilarious and very watchable. And it's been hugely successful. He's doing another series of it, but it is a far more watchable show than the Grand Tour's been the last couple of series, because I
must give it a go.
They've been pretty poor, but no, the show's really good, and we were up Chadlington and Chipping Norton and all those sorts of lovely areas for walks and things up round his neck of the woods, which you see in the show as well. And in fact, he runs around his farm in like an 07 Range Rover as well as his.
I'm sure I'll have his name down for a new one.
The farm wagon.
Highly affordable to a man at Clarkson.
Yeah. We should see the money he spends on farm equipment. It's unbelievable. Harry Metcalfe has his own YouTube channel as well on, is it called Harry's Farm just?
Oh, about this farming?
His farm, yeah.
That.
So, it's a whole...
Or he gets the time to do any farming when he's reviewing cars.
I don't know, I know. I know the stuff. And then Richard Hammond starting his own TV show as well. Is it on Discovery? And I'm trying to think what it's called.
How to Crash Supercars?
Yeah, so I think Richard Hammond's new show. It's called The Smallest Cog, and
Is that Hammond?
yeah, Hammond and it's going to be shown on Discovery Plus UK. I don't know when it's starting. We'll just keep an eye out. We'll post a link in the show notes. But he had sold off a pile of his classic stuff. Funny is what you put it in my head was Harry's Garage, because Harry, I think, presented the Silverstone auction, or he certainly did a show in Harry's Garage, and it was all Richard Hammond's cars were there. Some really class stuff at it, and we just looked it up there whilst we're talking about it. So, a 1969 Porsche 911T, this is Hammond's cars. A 99 Esprit Sport, now it was a Sport 350, one of the V8 twin turbo ones, one of the last cars, because I remember seeing about it before, so super rare Lotus. And a 1927 Sunbeam Model 2. So he has to clear all this stuff, or he sold all that stuff to open the business. So he is putting a huge amount of money behind it. So I hope it goes well for him. I hope it goes as well as Clarkson's Amazon show has, because I think Hammond did another series, was it called Survivors or The Survivor or something like that on Amazon, and I think it was a pile of steaming horseshit.
I think you're right. Yeah, I saw something about it one day and it just didn't jump out at me.
And just to tie it all off, whereas James May's been doing okay with, Our Man in Japan and his cooking show and stuff like that. There's the Hamsters classic cars and bikes there. There's
It's not a bad looking Lotus.
Yeah, it's pretty cool looking, isn't it? And then the 911's just absolutely beautiful. But I hope he does well, because I quite like Richard. He's
he always came across as a very genuine guy.
Yeah, totally. So we'll see. But that's a good episode of Harry's Garage. I think I'll just put that link in the show notes as well. Tell you what, though, I'm looking forward to going to the NEC. I really want to go to one of Johnny Smith's Late Break Show live tours. I'm going to miss the November one, which I'm gutted about. I think there's a track day coming up at Carcassonne on the 7th of November, so that's in a couple of weeks' time. That's worth going to. But we're now getting into the gloaming wintry season now, where things are getting a bit quieter in the old events side of things.
The roads are getting wet and muddy, and people just aren't as inspired to take their motors out and get them filthy and go out in the cold and wet. But equally, it makes the cars and coffee days more enjoyable.
You're right.
Nice steaming hot mug of coffee on a cold Sunday morning.
You're right, absolutely. There's a couple of cars and coffees coming up, but depending when this podcast comes out, I'll be out of date. So keep an eye on the news and events section on RMS. But as far as the podcast goes, we're a man down. But do you know what? The show goes on, and we'll come back to you with another exciting and random and wonderful guest. If you didn't hear it, the Bob Flavin was brilliant. Chris Gray was brilliant. Jason Barlow was brilliant. Chris Suter was brilliant.
We've been very lucky. Our guests have been very, very good so far.
Yeah,
I unfortunately didn't get to be on the Bob Flavin episode. I missed it.
No.
So I've yet to listen to it as well.
Oh, you'll enjoy it. It's a good show now, and we'll get someone lined up for next time. And in the meantime, we'll be on the secret squirrel hunt for someone else.
If anyone on the forum has any suggestions for guests, it'd be good to hear them. And can't say we can put our celebrity powers to good use, but we'll certainly try and ask around and see if we can get anyone on.
I've been asking. There's some people who have said absolutely yes, I would love to be on the show straight away. There's a couple of people I shot high for in the grand celebrity world, and I haven't had any response back yet. But it could happen. It could happen yet, which would be exciting. But in the meantime, get on the forum, rmsmotoring.com, and ask us some questions. Get us on the socials and ask us questions as well. We're everywhere at RMS Motoring. And the other thing is, if you're enjoying the podcast, please like and subscribe and give us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, because apparently that's a good thing to do.
And please go on and give Rocco some abuse for being a big fanny and leaving.
Absolutely.
Man down.
And remember, there's no warranty. This was sold as seen.